Hey, welders, ready to upgrade your gear and save some serious dough in the process? The Miller Build with Blue Savings and Rebate Program has you covered. Find amazing deals and cashback rebates on a wide range of Miller products, from welders to plasma cutters and everything in between, all backed by our 3-year warranty. Don't let this opportunity pass you by. Take advantage of the Miller Build with Blue program now. Visit us online or stop by your nearest Miller distributor today to start saving.
Welcome to another episode of the Strange Motion Way podcast. I'm your host, Tim Strange, along with
Carrie Strange.
Tonight, we have another great one. I say that every time, and you're like, they're all great.
A new lead in.
Past Good Guys Trendsetter, Hot Rod Industry Alliance Person of the Year, Good Guys Street Machine of the Year winner, Good Guys d'Elegance winner. He sponsors the Good Guys Next Generation Award for the 30 and under people. He's won multiple Good Guys Gold Awards at SEMA, multiple BASF, easy for me to say, BASF Best Paint Awards at SEMA, Mother's Shine Award, multiple Mother's Shine finalists at SEMA, Ford Design Award at SEMA, many awards at Shades of the Past, GM Design Award at SEMA, featured in many, many magazines. And he doesn't brag, but he has one thing that he has won that he just brags all the time on. Do you know what that is?
All the time.
We used to do the Hot Rod Industry Rod Industry BMX race, and we haven't done it since this guy won it. So he's still the reigning champion, and allegedly he was a child star. He was in the movie The Sandlot. He was Squints. Did you know that?
What?
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Superstar.
Look at it. You've not seen him. Oh, there's shirts that says Squints that's got his picture on it and everything.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Yes, if you put the hat on backwards, that's
really
movie.
But he could be the grown-up Squints. Gotcha. So welcome tonight, Jonathan Goolsby from Goolsby Customs. We had trouble with the internet because we had to pipe it in because he's in Alabama.
Yes.
Yep, exactly. Like I said, had to feed the hamsters.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, we've been saying we were going to do this for a while, and I seen you at the Good Guys show, and I was just like, let's do it. Let's get it done. So he's like, okay, I'll still be at the shop. He said earlier he was probably going to just strap the laptop to his chest while he could still keep it working.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a pretty big list, and I know there's more that I've missed that your website hasn't been updated for a little bit. So I know there's some stuff maybe from Triple Crown of Rotting and all that. So
that was pretty good. A lot of that, the years go by so much, you have to have something in front of you to realize what all you went through. But that was a pretty good one. I appreciate you bringing that up. Yeah,
there's some good stuff there. So let's go back to little John. You're not really grown up yet because you're you kind of something stunted your growth as a child. But when you were younger in years. Did you grow up like you were a little nugget? Did you grow up around hot rods, race cars? How did you get the hot rod bug?
Race cars was probably the closest thing to hot rods for me. And if you always got that older guy that's like, man, I cut up so many of them cars to make them race cars. So that car for me was a 70 Monte Carlos. Grew up with my uncle racing, and I was the one that did the big wheels, a bicycle, and running races on the front straightaways as a kid.
So we're talking dirt track stock car?
Asphalt stock car.
Oh, okay. I didn't know they had asphalt in Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, I'm diva enough that I don't like getting too dirty.
So you went to the races with them and was just a little dirt ball. When did you get did you drive a car when you were younger, a stock car?
Not when I was younger. Like I said, with the racing part grew up with my uncle. He raced, and we'd go build cars in his garage. I'd go to the races. Back then, we could ride in the race car on the trailer back and forth home. It's like riding in the back of a truck. But grew up at the racetrack a lot. He actually did forklift and sheetrock boom truck service. So that's where I learned a lot of the paint work, that and race cars. Um, Painting all that heavy equipment, painting race cars because you'd tear them up, we'd paint them again. And, in the mix of all that, I would race BMX bikes when I was that little before,
How old were you when you started racing BMX bikes?
probably 12.
Okay.
Because my brother raced with me too, and he was like so small that you got to stand behind him and hold the back wheel for him between your legs so he could take off at the gate. And then I did that till I was probably 17 or so. And then I come out of retirement to win the last big one.
We got to have another one of these
We
sometime.
do. We have got to get another
We got to
one.
bring in a ringer.
Yeah. What were you ABA? Tracks?
Yeah, no, NBA. So
NBL.
we
NBL.
NBL, yeah, sorry, but it was mainly everything around through Alabama. So we did a lot with Oak Mountain, Cascade Plunge, and Dothan, Ozark, Montgomery. Um,
We raced
Anything
in
that
Dothan.
was,
That's still a track. It had a
yeah,
national during COVID years.
Mhm.
Carrie about died there because it's the crisscross track. Was it a crisscross back
yes,
then when you raced it?
yep,
And
yep,
it had rained that morning,
Mhm.
and she practiced with all the other cruisers, and this guy cruiser, the first jump's really lippy, and his bike threw him off, and his bike bounced, and she swerved. And we have a lot of Carrie crashing stories of her BMX.
oh
And she
yes,
got in the wet grass, grabbed her brake, and was heading for
The wall.
the wall, but hit a hole. I've never seen anybody. I swear she was an Olympic gymnast and did 3 head over heel. Like it was one, but it was the quickest, and she didn't hit the wall, but she slammed into the ground so hard that it was a gnarly wreck.
It was gnarly.
Yeah,
It was
the,
pretty painful. But I saw the race
you
all
did.
weekend.
Yeah.
but did you
So
die?
I did not die. I lived.
Exactly.
I lived to race another crash.
yeah.
Yep.
So important question: what kind of bikes did you race? What brand were the bikes you raced?
GT and Diamondback, and I still have the Diamondback Turbo Light. It was the last bike I raced, and I still have it at the shop at the house.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a
Yeah.
real good one.
What did you race in the Hot Rod Industry BMX Challenge? Did you bring your own bike?
No, I
I think you
actually
raced
borrowed
one.
one.
He raced the girls'
so
bike.
you raced my bike, and it's used to going fast, so that's why you won.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was your bike though. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was your
My
standard
cruise-
20-inch.
My 20-inch. Yeah.
Yeah, those were fun. One year we had Jesse Greening came out, and D.W. Horton and Dave Tucci.
Scott Sandoval's
Scott
won.
Sandoval
He won the
from
first
Yeah.
one.
Billet. Yeah.
Or did he win?
No,
or
the first one was the guy that was from another country that worked for California Car Cover.
Yeah.
Like he moved to America to be a professional mountain bike rider.
Yeah.
And he just
Wow.
bang zoom, he was gone.
Yeah, he killed us
he
all.
was badass.
I was
That's some-
always rated the one national we went to in Montgomery, and I was my height racing against guys your height, and I could keep up with them probably the first couple turns, and then I knew I was like, that's all I got, guys. I can't get no more.
Yeah, size really doesn't matter until you're leaning on people in the corners. Like Donnie Robinson went to the Olympics, multi-time world champion, and he was
Yeah.
a foot shorter when he went to the Olympics as a pro than most of the guys that he was racing. Donnie's smaller. I mean, he's stocky, but he's shorter than you are. And he was a badass. So what was your best season BMX racing? Did you ever make mains at nationals, or were you state champion, or what was your best season?
State champion a couple times. The one time I felt like I got, and it sounds like an excuse, but I feel like I got robbed. They had once you got to a certain age, you automatically had to move up in certain groups. Well, I had timed out of novice, and my age was coming up to where my birthday sent me to expert class, and it just so happened to be a couple weekends before some of the big championship races. So once you went into that, you had a higher points, and I brought in lower points, and so I got knocked out of that one. But a couple state championships. My brother actually got a state championship, and we had fun doing it throughout those years.
Yeah, we love BMX, of course, and Carrie wrecked last year, and we still sponsor some kids, and I get to do some actual announcing at a national coming up for the internet for Flow Racing. It looks like coming up
Oh,
here
that's cool. Yeah.
at our Day weekend before we head to Indy. So yeah, so that's kind of cool. So during this in high school, uh, is that what you were doing? You were working for your uncle's company. Is that your first job that you had?
First job, yeah, I guess you worked in they put the house over your head, type deal. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Finally, the first job I started just painting body shops. Went through wherever I could get to help that would hire me, half days and stuff like that. It was
Did you
some of
work at a
the
body shop when you were still in high school?
yeah, yep. Um,
Cool.
and it was
So what kind
I,
of a student was Jonathan Goolsby? Were
oh
you
I
a
was I
what do
so
you did he did not I can guarantee he did not have perfect attendance.
No, he was a troubled child.
uh perfect attendance. I wasn't bad, so it wasn't bad on that part. I went. I was great. I was great at math. I hated school, and now I love history and all that stuff. And wish I would have learned more about it back then. But I was great at math, and I would average my grades just enough to pass. So if I had a 34 in history and I need to make this to pass, I would I would make just enough to where I would get what I needed to pass for that semester. And every one of them was like that. And I passed enough where senior year I was able to get out early because I'd had enough credits. But I actually had to take an art class because they wouldn't let me out too early, and that was my resting year through art, and then I could get out at 11 o'clock, and then I'd go to work. So
Cool. So what would when you were driving to this, what was your first car that you had?
Toyota Celica was the first one that I actually bought, and believe it or not, my
Yeah.
uncle bought me a rolled over Chevette at one time, and so
Very
he
first
played
car
with
was a
that.
Chevette.
Yeah, and then but the Toyota Celica was the first one, and then I was able to, you did all your stuff to it, 79 model hatchback, and it got to the point where I was going to repaint it, and I realized it was a waste of money, so I took it to an auction and I sold it to where I wouldn't waste the time on it. And then I went and bought me a S10 mini truck.
There you go, mini trucker.
Was the
Yep.
Celica out like wheels and stuff, or was it just a stalker?
And now by the time you get done, you're doing a bumper conversions. You did ground effects. You did the neon lights back then. I remember
Oh boy.
buying some 14 by 7. I think it was Elite, the Star Mags from the local guy that was at the paint store. So those went on there, and you had to paint the inserts to match. Teal green with silver metal flake. You had to have your system in it and all that stuff. So
So what'd you do to the S10? Slam it?
as soon as I got it, it was right before graduation, and lowered it, put a stereo system in it, and put an alarm on it, and went straight to Panama City.
That's where the Alabama kids go to party?
Back then, that was the deal. Panama City, Florida. You go there and you cruise the strip, and I mean, now it's kind of it got to be a big family deal because they redid a lot, and now it's kind of getting back to spring break type wildness. But I haven't been back. It's been a long time since I've been back to Panama City. It seems like Orange Beach is Gulf Shores is the quick weekend trips for me now.
Yeah.
So when you were in high school, did you play any school sports?
None. It was in elementary school. I remember playing baseball for a couple times, but other than that, it went no band, no. It was straight cars, straight get out of high school or get out of school and straight to work with my uncle. or getting stuff ready for race cars, and then eventually got to the point where I'd go to work at a body shop, but no sports, none of that stuff. So it was all getting greasy.
So when you get out of high school, what's the next plan of attack then? Still at the body shops?
Still at the body shops, still worked my uncle a little bit, and then finally moved out and stayed at body shops. And I went from, I remember one that was probably wasn't in the best part of the neighborhood, and they sold wheels and did body kits and metal flake paint jobs. And I remember doing a Testarossa kit on a Nissan Sentra, and this is when 18-inch wheels were huge, and we were trying to fit 18s on Hondas and stuff like that. And back then they wouldn't work, so customer come in and you'd paint their car blue, and you automatically put metal flake in it. But that was went from there, went to a couple other local body shops. Back
So you
and
didn't go
forth.
to trade school or anything like that?
I did one trade school that actually in high school, the last 3 years, it was a trade school that you went like half days. And the only reason I went and took it was because they had mechanic class and they had paint and body. And I took mechanics for 2 years and paint and body the last year. I picked up a little bit, but it was more of like a big hangout because you got to leave your high school. And the main reason I liked it is the fact that the hallways had vending machine and Coke machines in it.
So if you've ever seen Jonathan on a road trip going to SEMA, if he's looking his truck, or sometimes he'll post pictures, it looks like a 12-year-old got his allowance. Junk food, like candy, everything. It's
Everything.
ridiculous.
I am like, and I almost brought a bunch up here, but I figured maybe it'd be a little rude eating a bunch of candy because I found it in Texas. There's this. I happen to, I'll go in there and buy a bunch of junk food, put in a trailer, and just snack on. And I found a new candy that they usually make in squares like Laffy Taffy, but now they make it in sticks. So I bought the whole bag. And so that's what sitting down in the paint shop right now, just thrown out on the table. So if I walk by, I can just grab one and go.
So you're saying you prefer sticks in your mouth?
Yeah,
That's
partially. And I get it. Yep, you're right. I'll take that one.
Yeah. See, he's having a Dr. Pepper right now.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And
Have
we're
you
on
ever
the.
gone to the doctor? See if you have diabetes or anything?
No, so there was one, I'd say 7 or 8 years ago. I started feeling bad and just kind of weak and all that. And I went to the doctor and I'm like, look, I feel like crap. And he's like, well, what do you eat? This, and that. And I'm telling him, like, it's Dr. Peppers, Red Bulls, candy. And he looks at me. He goes, no damn wonder you're that way. He said, you need to do this. You need to do this, and don't eat this and eat that. And I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And so I did. I cut back on it. And then he was right. I mean, I was like, yeah, it made a difference. And then so this slowly I'm back into it. I buy Red Bull by the case from Amazon because it's cheaper and quicker, and I don't have to go out searching for it. I get smart about it. Like I maybe only need 1 or 2 a day. I try to cut back a little bit, but I know if I cut completely back, then it will help me if I start feeling bad because I tried it. It worked. So now I go back to my candy and stuff like that. And if I start feeling bad, I know to cut back a little bit.
Well, I'm glad you're learning.
No. See, I drink a sugar-free energy drink. I like Rockstar. Sugar-free energy drink, 1 a day. I don't drink any soda pop, Dr. Pepper. I don't drink coffee. So that's my caffeine, and it helps my headaches. So I'm not.
Yeah, completely. I don't drink coffee.
How can you eat all that sugar and still be so small?
Just always busy. And I eat, like if I go out to dinner.
Sugar water.
Sugar water.
So he's a little hummingbird is what he is.
Yeah.
He
He's all jacked up on sugar like Ricky Bobby's kids.
Exactly.
Oh
I don't do
goodness.
coffee. I don't do coffee. I don't do milk. Sweet tea,
See,
I'll drink that.
I could drink a gallon of milk a day if she doesn't slow me down. That's what I can't give up on my
Yeah.
milk.
So my mother, she got me on the milk, no, on the coffee part. It like scarred me for life because like I remember the house we lived in, sitting in the car, and she said, I said, "What is that? Can I have a drink of it?" She said, "It's Coke." And I'm going to school, and like I don't even think my brother was born. She hands it to me, and I drink, take a big ugh, and it was cold coffee. And
Yeah.
I've been scarred for life that I will not drink coffee. I've tried a little bit here and there just to see, like, well, maybe I'm old enough I can take this. Nah, it's no
Yeah,
sense in it.
every
I
once
go
in a
back to
while
milk.
I'll get a coffee, and like 3 sips is plenty for me. I love the smell of it.
Oh, I do
I just
too.
don't like the taste of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I like going into coffee shops. I don't mind it, but nah, I don't need it.
Yeah.
All
Okay,
right.
where were we? We lost our train of
I
thought
know,
talking
I'm
about junk food.
amazed. Yeah.
So you're working at body shops, and were you building any hot rods for yourself while you were working at the body shops?
So I'd say mini trucks. I got into the full size trucks, the dualies. Then the import scene came on big, and I did a lot of body kits um, for other shops and other people. And so then I got into some of the imports also, and that was actually a crazy scene how big that got. That's the first time
So
I ever went to
was this
SEMA.
like Fast and Furious time, like 2000?
Yeah, it was 2001, two, somewhere in that. It was right as the Fast and Furious came out because we did some stuff for the first film, and the second film we actually had one of the vehicles inside the theater for the like the premiere part of it.
Oh, cool.
So it was the first time I ever went to SEMA. It I had a little CRX that was turbocharged, engine swap, direct port nitrous, intercooler night, all this crazy crap, wide body and coning wheels. Back then, you could get sponsors like crazy, and as long as you
Hmm.
built something and took it somewhere, and Coning Wheels sponsored it. They also had a sister companies with exhaust and seats and wings, and they wanted it there, and they come and picked it up, took it out there,
Wow.
flew us out there, put us up. I mean, and that was the first time we went to SEMA, and they end up were changing the wheels once it got there, and two of them were the wrong bolt pattern, so
Oh,
they end up putting bronze wheels on one side and like a hyper silver different style wheel on the other side. Well, it just so happened to be a hit, and everybody knew that car as the car that had two different design wheels on it. So you can never change them, And eventually, we sold the car, and that's the way it always stayed because it was kind of branded that way.
so what year was that?
2001, I think it was something like that. Yeah.
And you weren't running a shop yet. You were still working for other people.
By that time, I was in the Chevrolet dealership, and I'd been
Okay.
there right out of let's see, it was right out of high school. Finally, I started the dealership, and I was a helper there. Started painting. Then it got to the point where I was the only person in the paint shop side. So the body shop had five or six body guys, and I run the paint shop, doing all the prep, painting, buffing, and send it back to them. And I had the shop at the house. Um, and I did a lot of body work and paint work on customers' cars, and that's where the old car, the classics and stuff like that came in play. And I
So let's
would
talk
get
about
them
the
all.
tuner stuff just a little bit more. Like some people, they'll laugh at the Fast and Furious, but we all know, even us hot rod guys, everybody that I know, that first Fast and Furious comes on, you're still going to watch it.
To this day, I still watch it.
And and I remember we had a local Galesburg, Illinois was our cruise area. When that movie come on, everybody wanted tuner cars. I mean, I didn't. I was a diehard hot rod guy, but that movie did so much to get
Yeah.
new kids.
New kids.
It's
Yeah.
like, there's that next generation younger than us that didn't know cars. They watched that, then they got into tuner cars, or they watched Monster Garage, or
Yeah.
Recycle Mania, and then a few years later it was the Foose stuff.
I can tell you, we got to the
There's
point
not
where,
been another movie. There's guys our age. We got excited about hot rods because we watch American Graffiti or Hollywood Nights,
yeah.
or a VCR copy of Vanishing Point or something. But there has not been another Hollywood movie that sparked the new generation coming in since Fast and Furious.
No, there hasn't
Hollywood has
been.
tried. They usually screw it up tremendously. I mean, now I can't watch any Fast and Furious movie with all the CGI stuff. But the second one wasn't bad. It had more muscle cars in it. The third one was, I'll watch. I like the Tokyo Drift one even, where they put
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
import motor in that Mustang, because I don't really like Mustangs. So you can't hurt them.
It was, I could tell the difference. Like all the mini truck stuff was great. And I still have a bunch of friends with them and I enjoy all the trucks. The import stuff, I still enjoy that. Like seeing and hearing some of the younger kids that got them and how that scene's going. But the import stuff was always, you had your cliques because who was faster than who. You had your group over here that was the fast group and you were always racing them. And then you had your V8 guys that hated the imports, and at that point, the our local round track had one-on-one drag racing. And after the races, if you bought a ticket, you could bring your car out there and you would start coming out of turn 2 and do the whole back straightaway 3 and 4 into the finish line, and you slowly eliminated people. And I had that Honda with the nitrous on it, and it would piss some people off because you beat them. But I'm out there just spraying the mess out of a car, and but it was fun. But it was that's where the battle was when it comes between the 4 cylinders and the V8s and stuff like that. But then you seen eventually moved into hot rods, and you seen that how much everybody in that whole section was like one big family. And it's neat seeing the transition between all the different kind of vibe of vehicles.
So when you were spraying, so I'm going to pretend I'm a Fast and Furious. So when you were spraying that with NOS, did the rivets ever break in your floor pan and your tread plate fall down?
No, not. I know I had extra self-tapping screws in there. But we had when it first started, we had a community bottle is what it was. A bunch of us friends had one bought a nitrous kit, and all it was a nozzle, a button, and the bottle, and one big line and 2 solenoids. And we would whoever needed it, we would end up taking out each other's car. And the nozzle we just stick in the intake and no peels. It was just straight shot of whatever we could get in there, and we would electrical tape the button to the shifter. So that's how much fun it was.
Did you or your buddies using that kit ever blow one up with too much spray in it?
So I had the one that I actually took to SEMA. We had going back to the dealership and to get all my Christmas presents because I left them there to wrap them because you couldn't do them at the house. And I'm headed down the interstate, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna play with this on Christmas Eve, And it had 2-stage boost controller, and I flipped that to 11 pounds of boost. Turn all the switches on, and I'm spraying the intercooler. I'm spraying direct port nitrous, 11 pounds of boost, 5th gear going down the interstate, and all you're doing is holding on for dear life, which is the stupidest thing you can do in that car, And it got to the point to where everything kind of got quiet and everything peaked, and I was like, this is maxed out. This is as fast as I'm going. And as soon as I thought that, it was like a grenade going off. It blew up, and I look in the mirror. And I look like the shuttle taking off, and you could hear all the stuff coming out of it. It was. That's the one I blew it from one end to the other. But it was fun, It's part of it.
Did you have to call to save you?
So I had one of the import buddies, and I said, "Hey, go get your truck and trailer and come pick me up." But that just started it to where you get to rebuild it and do a new motor and different parts and better parts, and that was part of it.
So then you said you're starting to notice the hot rods. What was your first, what we say, non-tuner car? Other than, you said you did your S10, but what was your first hot rod that you did?
I never finished it. It was a '46 Chevrolet Coupe. Bought it out of some guy's backyard, and it was the biggest piece of junk. Put it that way. I actually took it apart, and I'm going to get it blasted, and took it to Greenings to have him blast it for me. And I remember them trying to blast it, and it was um, Jeff is trying to pick it up with a forklift, and it's actually falling apart as he's bringing it back out. We got it rolling and had air ride on it. Never, chop channeled. Had some good friends help do all that, and never finished it. And I ended up selling it. Then I had a local guy had a scrapyard and had a 60 model Starliner, completely original, ran everything, and a big dent in the quarter panel. And that was the first one that I actually went through and did everything on it.
So what color was that one?
The purple and champagne.
So that made Custom Router magazine, right?
Yes, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
was it
That's why I
Street
first read it. I
Router?
was like, oh, this is a guy about my age building. Were you full time building hot rods then? Were you Goolsby Customs then?
Yeah, actually it was. Yep.
Okay.
That was
So,
actually
yeah.
Goolsby Customs and Collision then, because when I ended up buying the first shop, um, I did collision work too, because all them people from the collision world followed me.
hmm So that was your first hot rod and that, yeah, I'm a nerd, but I'm also
You're a nerd.
went through my custom routers recently, sorting them in the shop. And this will tell you how much of a nerd I am. That was a double feature with another car, right? Like a 58 9 Ford.
That was with Josh Henning's Galaxy. Yep,
Oh, I
yep.
thought he was just always a tuner kid. I
Oh
didn't
well,
know. I remember that car, but I don't remember that it was Josh. It was Josh's car.
he was a tuner also for a little bit, and then I ended up we built those cars together.
Hmm. Wow. And that was probably, what year was that? Early
Mm,
2000s,
5 or 6, somewhere in there. Yep.
right? Okay. So what year did you go
Yeah.
on your own as Goolsby's Customs and Collision?
2005, I believe it was. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, it was because we just turned 20 years this month, so it was
And how,
2005.
how
Yep.
old are you?
50.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be 54 in a couple days, so this is my 31st year running my shop, so I feel old.
Yeah.
I feel old when I listen to other people's podcasts. And Vinny
Yeah.
was on the Roadster Shop one, and he talked when he was at VC Tech. I was on the advisory board, and I came in. Will Posey was at college because I was at Wild Tech and stuff. I came in as advisory board when he was a student. I come across these people, and I'm like, oh man, it makes
I
you feel
remember
old.
Vinny when he first moved here from they had the hurricane and he moved here and from Louisiana, and from day one he's been like, bro, he actually helped me do the chopping channel on the 46 that we had. Yep.
Hmm.
So he's been around for a while, but yeah, he's a lot younger though.
I thought he came from like Cuba or something like that.
His parents are really good parents too. They're really good people also.
Timothy.
Well, I like Vinny. He's cool. He can take a
He's
joke.
cool.
Yeah, he's awesome. So then you're still doing collision work. When did the shift go till you're doing mostly hot rods?
So we did collision. I would say probably 5 or 6 years in. I
Mm-hmm.
still had to do all the painting on both collision and hot rods, and major body work on the hot rods. And I, I, I love when an adjuster comes in now and I don't have to deal with them. But that's what was the deciding factor. I was at the shop trying to get 3 supplements done, and all of them were from one company. two of them were under one adjuster and one was from another adjuster. And I know they have to save money and they're going to tell you they don't pay for this, but the first adjuster paid for everything, and it was only a couple $100, each one. And the second adjuster said, "No, we don't pay for that. We don't pay for this. We don't pay for that." And I told him, I said, "Well, yes, you do. Your other colleague, he just paid for it, and he works for the same company." Nope, nope. So I'm hot by this time, and I'm like, you raise hell and all that. And I'm like, okay, give me whoever's next to talk to, because I'm gonna ruin their day, and then I'm gonna go to the next person, and I'm gonna ruin their day, and I'm gonna go to the next person, I'm gonna ruin their day, and it'll be worth every penny that I'm losing. And when I did that, I hung up, and I was like, I don't need this anymore. And that was the deciding factor to drop all my collision. And
And that's why I
it
don't
was,
do collision. I worked at collision shops and Chevy dealerships, and we had this State Farm guy. I remember his name was Randy, and he had fancy cowboy boots on. It was probably the best ones at Tractor Supply. He thought he was something. And he was the nickel and dimest son of a bitch you ever did see. Well, early on, I fixed my mom's car, I fixed your car, a buddy's S10. When you're doing hot rods, you still like, oh yeah, I'll fix mom's car or whatever like that.
same thing.
And they said, oh, I wrote an estimate and we got to send the adjuster. I go, well, who they sending? And they said his name. I go, that some bitch ain't welcome on my property. So he calls me 5 minutes later and he goes, I don't remember ever coming to your shop or having an issue with you. And I go, well, I worked at this Chevy dealership and you were an asshole. And he apologized and he took my estimate and it was something. It was like a $3,000 estimate, a deer hit or something like that. And in the 31 years, I've done 4 insurance collision.
3 of them were probably mine.
One was yours, one was mom, one was buddy. We did some custom work on an S10 that he hit a deer with. But
I had one adjuster come in. And it was back then, and he had it was a 70 model Chevelle that had gotten stolen, and they had popped the door lock and the trunk lock and messed the collet up and stuff like that. And the guy had some just random insurance, and you got this young guy comes in there and he's all, well, you got me an estimate? And I'm like, hell no, I don't. I said, I'll write you an estimate, and I'll charge you for every second I'm doing it. And that was the greatest thing to be like, you know what? I don't have to do your job. And because they always, man, I know they're always trying to save a buck, and I get it, but it's like we pay so much for it. Quit cheaping out on me,
we had to do an insurance claim. We did all the SEMA cars we've done. We did a Transit Connect little minivan.
Yeah,
and I put all the ground effects on it because they didn't make anything. I still don't think they make anything for a Transit Connect. And I wrote an estimate. This adjuster calls me, and he goes, well, I got to come look at it. So I'm telling him, it's a SEMA vehicle. That's why, there wasn't any, like if they do a VIN search, it comes up as a not a VIN because it was a pre-production model. Yeah. This guy ain't listening to me to nothing. Well, I get the estimate, a week later in the mail, and he somehow come up with a part number for the ground effects that was like $800. And I'm like, no, that's not even for this vehicle. I told you this is a handmade custom sheet metal ground effects because they didn't make anything. And he goes, well, that's the part number. I go, that's for like a Bronco or a minivan or whatever it was. It wasn't even for the Transit. So we went round and round, and he wanted to pay me half of my labor rate. And it was just like, it was ridiculous. Yep. Yeah. So, yeah.
I have a bunch of, I've had some customers that have body shops and all that, and I love hearing I'm like their person they vent to just to get it out. But I love hearing the horror stories. I'm like, I don't have to deal with it anymore.
If you stick to a collision shop and you deal and figure out, we got a buddy Kenny that got 4 collision shops, and he does very well. But he is focused on that. He's got a separate hot rod shop too. But then you can make some crazy.
You can make some crazy money. Painter, body man, any of that stuff in the collision world. But do you want to be that robot?
Tim was a different Tim in the days that he was working collision. He was an asshole. And I know a lot of people think he is now.
I was more of an asshole. I think that's what she. Yeah, he's laughing. Yeah. He's like, "Wow, he is now."
It was awful. It was. We probably would not be married now had he continued to stay in collision, because he was a jerk. Like, he was not happy.
You say you're always fighting the manager, the estimate writer. You're fighting the dealership I worked at. It was in a nice town, but like, you work in your 2 bays, and if you turned your back on your toolbox, and if it was not closed up and locked, the detail guys would walk by and grab something. Like, you just had to watch your stuff and watch your back all the time. It was not an enjoyable job. I mean, there was a few guys there I really got along with. They were buddies and I go to lunch with, but not really, because I don't talk to any of them anymore. So they weren't really buddies.
The one time I had the upper hand on adjusters when I was at the dealership is that's when the Southern Comfort, the custom creation jobs, all them stripes and fades, all that stuff on the the OBS trucks were huge back then, and you'd get a bunch of them wrecked, and they'd want you to spot them in or whatever. So I could name my price, because the fact of the only way anybody else, I did all of them for all the dealerships around town, and the only way it was pay me to do them or take them back to the conversion company, and the conversion company wanted them back to a solid color and start over from scratch. And I could do a side or spot in and stuff like that. So I could name my price, and that's the one time I could get over on them, because they were like, no, we're not going to pay that. And I just, take it back to the conversion company and let them handle it then. And they would pay it.
The collision shop I worked at in high school, he was a Corvette guy, but he was a bass tournament fisherman. So he got in, since he had a shop, fixing all these bass boats that somebody stuck a tree stump through. So when I was in high school, I was really good at blending all the candies and boat flakes and blending it. You blow the powdered clear out by your hand and blend it in. And by the time I was 17, I was painting all the crazy bass boats. So
make a mess with all that metal flake.
Yeah. I sprayed some metal flake in my old shop on some Harley stuff, and I still to this day think there's metal flake floating around in that booth.
Yep.
Yeah. All them years later. So okay, you're starting to turn your back on the collision stuff. What was your first, you got a car that was in the magazine. What was your first customer car that started getting attention? And that back in the day, people, the younger kids now don't understand how much. I mean, I'm still excited when I get print. To me, that still means more than a trophy most of the time, because I'm a print nerd and I collect everything.
Same thing.
But you get in a magazine and the phone would just start ringing. We were kind of slow at the Chevy dealership. I was the youngest guy there, but then I got my first car in a magazine. 3 months later, I was full time doing hot rods.
Yes, that's basically, I'd say, similar situation. We had a local customer showed up, and I did some paint jobs here and there, nothing full builds. It was paint jobs on old cars. And one of my customers, or a good friend, he had a Chevelle, 67 Chevelle, and he sold it to another guy. And he brought it to me and said, hey, what do you want to do with this thing? What can we do? Well, that's when I first, we're just now seeing good guy stuff and seeing how all that rolls and seeing all these big companies and how everything's playing out. And I'm like, we need to get one of them Roadster Shop chassis for this thing. And it was right when Phil and Jeremy had did that school bus yellow looking 66 or 67, their first one. And so he was like, all right, well, let's do it. And so he gave us the Chevelle. We got a chassis for it, did a big block in it, shaved everything on it back then. And, we did it charcoal, did Bose wheels on it, and we got with advanced plating and did black chrome on every piece of trim on it.
That car went to SEMA too, didn't it?
Yes. I think twice it went. So we end up thrashed on it, getting it done, and I remember trying to last minute, we got it all ready. The brakes hardly worked on it. Had issues with it running, all the typical thrashing deals. And
SEMA thrash, I always say SEMA's not a driving event.
No, so this is going for Shades of the Past. And so been to Shades of the Past a ton of times, seen everything, and never competed for anything. But here's our first one we're going to try to compete with. And
So explain. I understand now because I live in the South. I always seen Shades of the Past in the magazines. I never went. I only ever went to Shades of the Past once. Once I moved down here, I never came down here. But explain how big of a deal if you're not a Southern person. I mean, they come from all over, but now it's the Triple Crown. But how big of a deal it was? I mean, it was. You had Good Guys Indy and Good Guys this, and NSRA Street Rod Nationals. But like I forget. I've been building cars a long time. We took a 32 4-door and got a top 25. And some people came up to me. They go, "How did you get a top 25? You've never been here before." Yeah. Like it's that big of a deal. Like it's the Shades. I mean, even though now with the Triple Crown, but the Shades was it. Like it was like if you got a top 25, it was like, oh man, I got a Riddler grade 8, wasn't it?
Exactly. That was if you won that was the biggest part of it. If you just make 25, that's crazy that they would say, you think you'd win the, first place or whatever, but making the top 25, that's if you can make that was the plus part of it, And we end up. I remember we were, last minute loaded, driving. It's about 5 hours from us, and we're been up all night and all that. So the owner met us halfway to be able to
jacked up on sugar and junk food.
Yeah, and he let us sleep while he drove and got us there. I remember parking at the top of the hill. We paid somebody $100 to just leave the truck and trailer in the front yard, unload the car, got it, drove it through there, parked it. And Bobby knew we were having problems with it, just running wise and stuff like that. But it ran, and it stopped some and all that stuff. And he come up and he looked at me. He goes, I don't have no pushers through awards. He says, this thing run and drive. And I'm like, yeah. He said, all right. And we ended up making top 25 with it. So that was a big, huge accomplishment, and that kind of really probably started a lot of it,
Yeah, and I mean, I've always looked up to Bobby. He's like a mentor. He's one of those guys you can call and he'll help you with business stuff. He welcomes you into the shop. And even now, I was like, man, Bobby Alloway knows my name. I mean, his wife knows my name. No, she does. Yeah. I made a joke at SEMA that one year when I finally got Bobby's cell phone number, but then I told everybody, he doesn't answer it anyway, but I do have the number. Yeah, he won't text either. He'll call you back, but yeah, he won't hardly ever text.
But that car was the one that started pretty much everything for us. We finally took the SEMA for the HRA deal, and we were the standby car, and nobody broke down, so we stayed outside that whole time, and that's where Low Car seen it, and we showed, the big thing was the firewall on it, and Low Car seen it. We got talking with them a pretty good bit, and that started that relationship. They had back then Pro Touring was kind of coming on big and strong, and you didn't have like how the autocross is now, to where it's like stupid race cars. Back then it was the Pro Touring cars that are custom cars, and let's push them. And Hot Rod Magazine and Freiberger and all them were like, we're going to do a Hot Rod Power Tour, and we're going to call out all these SEMA cars and see if they can do this, put their car to the test. And whoever doesn't want to be part of it, we're going to call them out and tell them that they were too much of a puss to even be part of it. And so we made one of them finalists, and we end up did the Iowa to Mobile Power Tour in that car, and you had to do a dyno run, autocross, start stop deal, and do the whole tour. And once you got done with it, was 5 of us that ended up doing it, and we finally finished it, and they did it all off of applause, who thought should win it, and we ended up winning that. So that was another high for us to be able to, pick that up, and that was another part in the magazine.
Do you remember who the other in the group 5? Do you remember who the other builders were? It was with
so you had one guy that had a diesel powered 70 light till Chevelle, big meats under the back of it. Remember Dave Neal that had the yellow truck? He was on the power tour with us.
I did the body work on that truck.
So he wasn't part of it, but he stayed with us the whole
I
time.
broke my arm BMX racing and I couldn't paint it. He had to get a buddy to paint it. Yeah.
So that's where I actually met him. He was him and his buddies were just camping. I'm like, well, hell, we got a room that's got just stay with us. And but Foose had a Magnuson's card. I can't remember which one it was. They recently brought it back to Grand National, the gold one. So they
It
had
was
that.
a Marcel built or Marcel shaped 32, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah. They PPF'd all up under the fenders, everything. I mean, and he drove it a pretty good bit, but whenever it rained, they put it in a trailer. So that was like, gave us a little stepping stone. A couple other Camaros and one other Chevelle, but it was a good little run, and it was first time I ever done anything like a power tour or seeing parts of the country like that. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Them road trips they can be stressful, but usually you have problems, people help each other. It's pretty cool how they all get together.
Yeah.
Now she's part of the crew that runs all the power tours now. So.
Yep.
So then after that car, that probably just opened the doors that much more.
That it did it like it opened the door with low car. That same owner, before we did anything with low car, we built him that white 71 Mustang Pegasus.
So I'm not a big Mustang fan. We know that. That's why during awards, Sadie always gives me the Mustang cards to read.
Okay.
But that body style is one of the most undesirable Mustangs.
Yes.
Like, I don't even know how you see out the back of them things, just the way they are. The blind spots and stuff. But I remember seeing that thing. It had all brush trim and all whited out. And I'm going to say, my dad don't listen to this. You made a Mustang cool. Like one of the first Mustangs I remember. There's a few other Mustangs been built since, but that thing was, very cool.
He actually said, hey, I got this 69 Mustang we're going to build next. And we went to his house, and it was this 71 jacked up Krager wheels, bright yellow Joe Dirt looking machine. And I was like, that's not no 69. And he'd bought it from some drug seeds auction deal. And so we had Brendan Hermance draw some stuff up. And it was like, well, let's just pull it off and see if we can make it happen. And we ended up shortening the back 3 inches, and I think the front 7 inches. Cut the back glass out of it, laid it down like a spoiler on the back, rotor shop chassis. The first Coyote, I think it was Sean Hollins had 3 Coyote motors that Ford gave him to do testing on some supercharger stuff, and we was able to get one from him. And that was one of the first Coyote motors putting anything. And that was his
Highland guy. Is he still around? Because we bought stuff. We did that mod motor powered, which we got from Ford, and we bought some accessories and stuff from him for that Falcon we did.
I don't know if he's still around or not.
Heard that name for a while. That he was the go-to for performance, modern fuel-injected Ford stuff there he was like the only guy for a while.
He was, yep. So luckily we was able to get one from him, and it was so complicated to get that modern transmission and that motor to run. Figuring everything out, and it got to the point to where we had to run the factory gauge cluster, the key ring, because you had to program the keys through the ring, a set of keys, and we had to mount all that in the back quarter panel to get it out of the security part of it to where it would finally run. And I just, believe it or not, that was been probably every bit of 10, 13 years ago. And I ran into somebody at Raleigh, Good Guys, 2 weeks ago, and he said he had mentioned that car. He said, I heard you built it and all this. I was like, yeah. He said, well, I wanted to try to buy it. He said, I bought a Harley from that guy 5 or 6 years ago. And I said, well, it's been sitting on the lift ever since then. And I told him, I said, I know he's selling it, and if you want it, you better go get with him quick. And believe it or not, yesterday I got a phone call, and he went down there and bought it.
Oh, cool!
So now I get to work on it again because it's been sitting for I think good 5 or 6 years.
So where did that car go? SEMA?
SEMA, Shades. We did some of the Good Guys stuff with it.
I think won a lot of awards too, didn't it?
Yeah, that was the year that we were kind of getting our feet wet with Good Guys and trying to get
Uh-huh.
into the clique. And we were big, we were buddies with Phil and Jeremy and all them stuff. And that's when they did the Innovator Nova. And nobody did white cars then. And we would send sneak pictures back and forth, and they were doing white, and we were doing the white Mustang. And that's where we debuted it with them. And of course that they rolled that thing out, and we were just the peons after that. But it did pretty good. But it was an oddball car.
Innovator Nova won Street Machine of the Year that year, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and I remember throwing the Gerber boys under the bus here. I was standing, I think it was at SEMA, looking at that Innovator Nova with all the machine stuff it's badass. The craftsmanship, change it. I like stuff cut up. I like body mods, and they were two hardcore hot rodders. We only work on 48 and older stuff. And then one guy looked at me and the other guy, and he goes, "If I got to build stuff like this, I quit."
Yeah.
And these guys are still building cars and very big names in the industry. They're like, they were not welcoming to that. Just same way with fuel injection motors. That's never going to last. You still get the old guys that hate the LS motors, and LS motors have been around for 30 years. They're not making new ones anymore, and they just can't accept that. But I remember, and I'm like, yeah, it's not everybody's cup of tea, but they're like, man, the craftsmanship's through the roof. There's no denying that. But those old street rock people did not like the style of that car. So
they didn't like that young blood coming in there stirring the pot. That's for sure.
It wasn't that. It was just all the body mods and the crazy billet, almost honeycomb looking grill, and so that car. If people don't know these cars, they need to Google the two Mustang or the two white cars we're talking about. So.
Yeah.
So then after
that started. We built 232s for that same owner, and then it went on to. I'd say low car was
the purple 32 Roadster for that same guy.
Yeah, yep. The Roadster and the Coupe. Yep.
Okay, yeah, I really like that. That Roadster still comes up in like 32 website pictures and stuff. That was a bitchin' car.
That was my favorite.
Yeah. Then along that time you started building some cars for low car.
So right after all that, the whole meeting them at SEMA and all that, that's where that opened that. And we built Skip, the 69 Camaro, Skip and Debbie. He found the car, and they brought it to us, and we got Ben Hermans to do a rendering on it, and that opened that door of a parts line. So it was like, hey, what if we make these handles, or we do these door pulls, and we do, these hood vents, and Kevin and all them, they got all the machining tools they need. And we started making the parts to put on that car, and took it to SEMA and debuted it there. And that was a huge stepping stone for us little shop, being with a company that big. And then the parts line with low car started, as a Goolsby edition, because it was like, hey, let's make this for that car. And we built the Camaro. We toured it. We did Muscle Machine of the Year with Good Guys. That was the year that Poteet had the Torino. And when you go for Street Machine of the Year, well, Poteet's Torino's there, and you're like, there's no way you're beating that. So we made top 5, and Good Guys did the tour then, and Poteet said, top 5, I'm paying your way to do the tour. You just got to be there. And it started at Good Guys location and went to Texas. And the whole time I'm like, how you got to do this, Poteet? He's the guy of all this. So how do we figure this out? It just so happens Low Car is going to Pleasanton to do the show. So we stuffed the car in their trailer they left it at Good Guys, and I was able to fly out there and do the tour all the way, to Texas, and then drove the car back home. And that was the first time I really kind of driving cross country in a hot rod.
Yeah, I've not done a big haul like that. I've done hot rod power tour and stuff, but that's not like halfway across the country. Mm-hmm. It's usually 4 or 5 states.
Yeah, I did the Texas to California.
Texas to California, I guess I've done that. So
in panel truck.
Yeah.
In the winter.
Yeah, going to the roadster show, ice and snow, and that wasn't too fun.
Yeah. But no, that started that, and then Debbie has her 40 model that had been through a bunch of other shops, and they finally got it and hit it. And it was still in bare metal, and I always told her, I said, whenever we finish the Camaro, I'm bringing it. I'm taking the 40 back with me, and we did, and we got it and did all the work to it. We named it Lucille after, I think it was after her mother, and then we debuted it at SEMA also, and then we did the same thing with parts on it. So it was, you had the Goolsby Edge edition, and you had the Goolsby edition for 32s and more classical looking stuff. But that that relationship's still good. They're like family. Even for all my trophies.
I mean, you build a lot of badass cars. For me to pick a favorite of something you build, that Lucille Street Rod, because I like early stuff more.
Yeah.
That I still love that. The color combination, just the subtleness of the mods and stuff on it is like, it's so pretty, but it's like, man, that's one I was like, yeah, I want to do power tour or something in that one. It just looks like it would go down the road so good. So
yeah, that was full chassis, stack injection, fuel injected.
What's the chassis underneath that one?
It had a Roadster Shops Revo chassis. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that was I think the only original part on that car that we kept was the windshield frame, and it was already chopped 2 inches, but we had to make doors, quarters. Was able to find some back fenders, chop the hood up. It was a lot of cutting up on that car, but it was fun. And like I said, I like that style too. So it was fun doing that. Designed the color on it. BASF made a pearl just for that, and I got a couple small things of it still left, and it was fun dealing with it.
And that thing, that got Good Guys D'Elegance Award?
Yeah, it did actually. That we had planned on, we had 3 chances of winning it of the year deal, and Del Mar was the first one, and then we were there was one other one, and then we were going to try to finish out with Street Rod or something like that. So it was we just want to try to get one. So that was the first trip to Del Mar, and crazy facility out there. That's one of the favorites, I guess, because it's right on the beach.
That's the one Good Guys show I've never been to. I've been to almost everything else at least once, but I've never been to Del Mar.
It's at the horse track where they present the awards. Very nice, and I'm big about the beach, and it's right there, so I can at least see the water and stuff like that. So
I drove by
it was
the
pretty
venue
cool
before when I delivered a customer car out there, but I've never been there when the show's going on.
Yeah.
So then after the Lucille car, what was next coming out of the shop?
Let's see. I'd have to.
It's hard to remember sometimes. So
it might have been
I know
Tim Spencer's
a lot of
Mustang.
times you don't get to go to the Roadster show in California, even though we'll talk about the truck, the Roadster truck you took out there. Is it trying to did we just drop the signal? No, it's going. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it did a weird thing sometimes. Because the Birmingham indoor show, you guys do. So tell about that award that you guys given, the big award at that show.
So that's under Vonda's under her dad. It's a memorial award for her dad, and we started that. It's probably been going on. I'd have to look back, probably 10 or more years. And now,
so was he a racer or a diehard hot rodder? Why is that award for him, or it's just you guys wanted to do one, so you name it for him, or
name it for him? He was a little bit into cars, a little bit, but the biggest thing was how much he supported me on it. So he supported me a lot on like everything towards the racing, anything car related, and he was always there. And so once he passed, we ended up making that award, and we was able to, throughout the years, we've been able to grow it to where um, it's $10,000 to win. So we'll do a top five, and then we'll pick a main winner for that. Posey's won it a couple years back with the Impala, and it's I wish probably need to advertise it a little bit more because of how much money pays. But it pulls some good heavy hitting cars. This year was pretty good. But yeah, it was 10 grand every February. We put it on, working with World of Wheels there.
Yeah. And it's usually 9 times out of 10, it's the same weekend as the Roadster show, right?
So the last 2 or 3 years, it's fell on the same weekend.
Okay.
And, everything here bases, you don't want to be on a weekend on top of a football game or a race or something like that. And so they finally moved the World of Wheels in February to like the first weekend. So I think that to where it doesn't fall on top of some NFL stuff or something like that. And then now it falls on top of the, Grand National. And so it's always hit or miss on what weekends things are falling on. So many shows out there. It seems like all of them you're going to miss out on one of them, it seems like.
Yeah.
It got to where we had finally I'd help them with the judging, and I had good friends coming in. Paul Gillum was there, showing his Studebaker that Johnson's built, and a bunch of others. And I finally told the judges, I was like, look, I can't, just tell me what's going on. I can't be part of like, hey, I think this or this person should win or something like this. This is y'all's job. Just keep me in the loop. Because it was, that hot rod side of it turned into a big family, and all of them are family members, and really didn't want them pissed off at me.
Nobody gets upset over an award. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Well, when $10,000 was involved, then it became a big issue.
Yeah. The Tulsa show, for about their first 5 years, it was 20 grand to win the Tulsa show. And it's still 10. So, that's, you're not getting the money back that you put in the car, but it sure helps.
Yeah, I mean it's just like racing. You're gonna blow more money than you're ever gonna win back, but it's the hobby and the fun of the competition,
Yep.
No.
Yep.
Okay, so we kind of jumped out. What we probably can't talk about. What was after Lucille? Did you remember before we started talking about the award thing?
No, I think it was the Mustang. There was they all start. You try to do one every year, it seemed like, and
so that was the Mustang,
and then Tim Spencer on Buffalo Wild Wings. Yep.
Yeah, really nice guy. And that car was debuted at SEMA, right? Got a gold award.
So I don't know if they were doing gold there then, but that we debuted it in HRA's booth, and I would say that was the one car that probably did a lot for us, like toward even more putting us on the map. But that was that one car that just happened to be the perfect car for the year. I put it towards like Classic Car Studios car that hit last year, how they cleaned house. It was the car of the year. That's the one you had to beat. Posey's, Impala. That was a heavy hitter for the year. And just so happened that Mustang, we fell in that category to where it was the car of the year. Never thought that we'd ever win a Shine Award, and we picked it up with that car. Street Machine and top, the Shades of the Past stuff. So that was our car that we got to ride the whole year on a high,
Yeah, that's, I'm going to say, I can't believe I'm going to say this twice.
I know.
That's a really good Mustang. Yeah. It hurts my heart to say that. And for a nice guy too, super rad customer.
Yeah, him and his daughter and his wife. Yep.
Yeah.
We even had a child seat made for the back that matched the front seats. Yep.
So when you say having a car that is kind of known. It won like all the big awards: Street Machine of the Year, all the Shades of the Past, the big stuff, the Shine Award. What doors did that open that weren't already open for you with customers? I know eventually you did some cars for Poteet. So did that
Yes.
Mustang help that process?
I think since it was so close to the Camaro for low car and us doing the tour, that
Mm-hmm.
that opened the door on that a little bit because it got to where we got to spend the whole week with Poteet, and he'd come by the shop and see us, and we got that relationship being on the tour for the whole week, and then quickly after that we did the other cars. So he tested us. He brought us first I think it was a 33 and a convertible, and wanted us to chop the top on it. So we chopped the top, and that was one little test. And then he brought us a 48 Ford, another convertible, wanted us to chop the top. So we did it, and then we got to do a patina Chevelle for him, and that was the first one. He's like, "Here, do your thing. We're gonna keep this patinaed." Um, Full chassis. We did LS back then, forged line wheels, and actually did the tour in it, and then I went to a Starliner built for him. What else? The Impala we did for him. So that opened a huge
Mm-hmm.
door. Really, the tour and meeting him there, and him seeing us do cars. And the funny thing with him was like he let I think we did the first LS for him. He was always carbureted, mechanical fan, no radio. And now after he had that Chevelle, it was LS the world, for him. Um,
Yeah.
but he tested us to make sure we could do it. And as long as you treated him right and didn't, he was not say he was a cash cow, but he was the one that you could always depend on to have a job. And as long as you
Mm-hmm.
did him right and didn't overdo it on stuff to just try to um, have that first car and get every bit of money you could get out of him, and just do him a good job, and he'd bring
Yeah,
you
which
another
we've all
car.
heard stories about that. Some people took advantage of
Yeah,
his letting you do stuff. I don't know how to word that nicely, but and then they wouldn't get a car. They wouldn't get another car, and that was
yeah,
always a
they,
big sign of respect that he respected you and you did him good. Is you got another car, and that's
yeah,
what one
yeah,
thing Bobby Alloway always said. He goes, "If you only build one car for a customer, you did something wrong." And I'm like, Bobby, you got blinders on because some of them guys. He's built 20 cars for Alloway for these
yeah,
big business guys. And I'm like, some of these guys, they have barely enough money for their one dream car. Unless they sell that dream car, they can build another one. But not everybody can have multiple of these high end cars done. That those people are very, very rare. And Bobby finally admitted, "Yeah, you're right. I'm pretty lucky on my customer, but it takes a long time to get there."
it
But
does.
we
Yeah,
never got to build anything for Poteet. We were close to building him a shoebox Ford one time, and then we were close to building him a 32 Roadster one time, but we never.
it was crazy. He'd always come up to you, and he would. I remember he'd always sit in the booth and he'd pull out his phone and he'd swipe through his pictures, and he had renderings of tons of cars. I always wanted to build this or that, but very fortunate to be able to work with him and know him. And he was a legend in the hot rod world, and he put a lot of shops on the map.
Yeah, and the racing world too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I guess his car is going to be done racing. The family decided to donate it to the American Museum of Speed in Lincoln, Nebraska, because they didn't want anybody driving the car. Allegedly, it's the story I heard, which I just talked to the museum people today. They didn't want other people's name replacing George's names in their record book because it's going to be hard to hit those records that that car has. So
Oh
Chris
yeah.
Raschke
Yeah.
drove it one year, got another hat, colored a hat, and a record that either bumped it that George had. So I mean, but that car is very expensive to keep running. So they're like, yeah, we're not going to spend seven figures a year to go to the salt. But yeah,
It
if
was
people are listening to the podcast
crazy.
that don't know who George Poteet is, one, you're not as
And did it come out from underneath the rock?
they need to come out. Some people just pay attention to cars. Scuba Steve's that way.
Yeah.
He don't really pay attention to who the shop is or but he doesn't go to all these things. He's not a builder. He's like, oh, that whatever car, that Chevelle was really cool. But, us in the industry, you knew who George was. You shook his hand, been to his collection, and he's definitely leaving a hole in the industry for the amount of cars and amount of shops that he once started or was still supporting. And a big hole from cars.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know how
he
many
was,
shops that
he's the
had cars
godfather.
built. Yeah, yeah. I mean, like you say, we can probably, our generation of guys, we could probably sit here and name 20 shops that he was their first paying customer. I
Yeah.
mean, he really was a big, I don't even know what to say, how to support her. There's a fancier word, but yeah, I too just barely passed my classes like Jonathan, so I didn't pay attention in English and learn.
I can count the cars.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. So you did one year. You did a killer 32 Roadster and debuted it at the Roadster show for Amber, America's Most Beautiful Roadster, right?
Yep. Yeah, I still have
You
the guy still
you
got
won
it.
a lot of the specialty awards, so people don't understand the America's Most Beautiful Roadster. They do this for the Sloniker. They do this for the Custom Awards at Sacramento. All the 12 people that are up for that award, they get them on stage, and they start naming awards. Best paint, best interior, best detail, best undercarriage, best display. So if you start winning best paint, we did that for the custom thing. We got best
You're
engineer,
out.
this and that. You're not winning the big award. It's still good to win
Nope.
those awards, but like,
We won every one of them except for the big award.
yeah. So that basically means you got second.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I was.
Uh,
It's funny. It was wrote up in the news times that was out there that we brought the winners brought a gun to the knife fight. So,
what won that
but
year?
they had the Troy's Hot Rods with the was it the maroon
Oh,
car
the
with a
Walnut
crazy.
Roadster.
Yes, yeah,
Oh,
which is an
oh, yeah.
amazing car.
Yeah,
But
and that's hats
that
off
was
to the judges. How do you judge those two cars against each other?
that was a to me that car's amazing. And when the top worked, you could tell they've probably done it 1,000 times, but there when it worked, the whole team applaud because because you never know that's going to be the time that it screws up. And
Yeah,
Mhm.
right.
but he had crazy car, but a lot of work. But that to me was the changing point in how the Amber Award was because nobody's ever had a car like that and considered it a roadster or anything, and it just so happened we bring something that was a turning point for all that.
Yeah, yeah. And then like this year at the awards, the Rad Rights car won the Amber, but
Yeah,
the very first the specialty award, they gave best display, and it won best display, and everybody's
really.
like, I mean, that car's like,
Yeah,
there's some other stuff that I'd like in my garage probably ahead of that, but as a judged car, that car's really hard to beat. And everybody was like, "Oh my god!" But then it kind of found out afterwards. They said you can win best display because that's totally separate of the car.
wow, I never knew that.
Display and all the rumor, all the builders are standing around. And it's like, what the hell? How did that car not win the overall? But it did win the overall. So yeah, it didn't win a best paint, best interior, best engineering. Other cars won a bunch of those, and it won the
It
top
was
awards.
it was funny. We were there and had the little roadster set up, and we found out you can pay them to put spotlights up in the ceiling. It was
That
I
you
think
know who was the first to
six.
do that, and he did it in Detroit was
Who
Chip
was it?
Foose. Chip
Oh
Foose.
yes, 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 yeah. Um, I did. So it was $600 a light, and so we put two of them up, and it made a huge difference. And then you can start, and it's all competing out there. Next thing you know, you see them go over there, and they're putting up two somewhere else and two somewhere else. It's like we lit
Yeah.
up the whole place because everybody's competing against each other.
Well,
But
they
yeah,
put two up.
it's
Let's do three. Let's be one light better than
exactly
Goolsby.
exactly.
But it does. If you go to a show, you can just tell from across the way. It's like, oh, that car's special because it's glowing. It's got
Yeah,
spotlights on. It's not like a harsh, like at a concert spotlight. They put the right thing, and like the one time
yep.
Chip brought his own colored lenses to put on it, so it tilted the color right for him. And of course, Chip, yeah.
he's got it figured out.
Yeah. So what else did that car on the Good Guys circuit? What did that car win that year?
So we went for Hot Rod of the Year with it. Did the whole
Okay.
tour and all that, and that's what we wanted because it was more of a hot rod for us. But they ended up giving us truck finalists, and we ended up going to Scottsdale, and that's when they actually took that truck finalist to Scottsdale and announced it there. And we didn't win it, but we was a finalist, and we were up against One Off's gold grade 8 truck they had, which was really nice. But that shades of the past stuff. Some of the builder's choice stuff. You know, here and there, stuff like local stuff like that. But it was. We've gotten into where we don't do a whole lot of the awards anymore, except for just certain of
Mm-hmm.
the year stuff, or some of the Triple Crown or big ones, and then that allows the customer when they get them to go take them, and they can do the builder's choice stuff and all that because it's still a fresh vehicle for those categories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a show car definitely has a shelf life, as you would say.
Yeah.
It's sad for the amount of money, and then they end up like we've got a couple big collections of family that got over 400 cars, and you go through there, it's like, oh, that's where that car ended up.
Yep.
There's Kindigs, there's Alloway cars, there's other customs and custom rods that's been in magazines. Like, oh man, I ain't seen that car in 15 years. Oh, it's in the back of this collection building, and it's good that those guys out there are buying them. But yeah, they definitely have a shelf life of if you're doing the award stuff, which is kind of sad. But there's always new cars being built, right? It's like babies.
There is.
Yeah.
I don't care what the shelf life is on my Corvair. I'm going to drive it all I want.
Well, I went to SEMA 11 years ago, and you've still never finished the trunk.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the typical part.
Because your own cars never get done, right?
I did
Oh,
redo
yeah.
the interior and inside during COVID.
Yeah, you did.
So yeah, I bought a Blazer 5 or 6 years ago, and for the wife, put it on a chassis, got the motor, and it's been sitting that way. I ended up buying another square body to replace the giveaway truck, and then I've got it on a chassis and started it, but it's still sitting there. So
yeah. So let's
one
that's a
day.
good segue. Let's talk about you doing building the giveaway cars. How did you get? I'm going to say this, and Andrew listens to this from Good Guys. So how did you get suckered into doing giveaway cars? A lot of my buddies have done them, and almost everybody that's done them, Tucci's done them, Zane's done them, Troy Ladd's done them, and hardly ever. Well, they used to do Street Rodder Road Tour cars too, so there was always. And then Dave used to build a giveaway car for Syracuse and stuff, but a lot of people. Tucci's done a lot of giveaway cars. But most people are one and done. They're like, I ain't doing that again. So what was your first giveaway car you built?
67 Camaro on the 50th anniversary, the butternut yellow one.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that's been a good, I don't know, 6 or 7 at least years. It's been a while. So we did that one. A couple years later, we did the square body truck, which was Jenny. And we just recently finished the Monte Carlo SS.
Yeah, and then Jenny actually won with the owners, or I don't know if it's a new, because the giveaway truck, they won it. I don't know, has it changed hands since the guy that won it at the Good Guys show?
So I built that truck, and I figured that was I always wanted one, and here's the opportunity for me to build this truck. All I have to do is put the labor in it. Everybody, all the companies sponsor everything for it. If Good Guys couldn't get something for it, they paid for it, and I built it if it was my truck. And we gave it away in Columbus. And I asked the guy, I said, "Hey, you want to sell this thing?" And he said, "Nope, we're driving it home." And I said, "Where's home?" And he said, "Spokane, Washington." And I was thinking, great. And we had a good 6,000 miles on it, but. So he told me, it's like me and my brother and the wives flew down here. And he said, if I want it, me and the brother are driving it home and the wives are flying home. And down if that Monday, I was on the same plane with the wives while they were driving home. and he kept it. He kept it for till last year. I have a customer here. He called me and he said, "Hey, he had a Nomad he was trying to sell, and he said, what's the deal with this Jenny truck? Didn't know nothing about it." And I told him the whole story and and he said, "So, he wants to trade for my Nomad. Should I do it?" I'm like, "You're a truck guy, so yeah, you should do it. That way, I can get it back from you." And he's like, "All right, well, I'll see what I can do." And by that time, I was leaving to go to Des Moines, good guys, and I go straight from Des Moines to Columbus, and he surprised me with it in Columbus, pulling up in it, and so he had went and met Gary that won it in Sturgis, and pretty much shook hands and swapped vehicles and left. And so now he got it here, and we did Columbus with it.
And I think the cool thing is he took it to Triple Crown, and they do 2-year breaks of trucks, right? No, 3-year breaks of trucks, and it won Truck of the Year at the Triple Crown. I mean,
Truck of the Year
for a giveaway truck.
Yeah,
that's like me. I hate it when I was doing TV. Oh, it's a TV card because I hate that, but that shows the effort that you put into these. That I mean, there was cars that won some of the year awards in the last couple of years, or Riddler Grade 8s that come to there and don't get anything because they don't give awards for everybody. Like an indoor show, 90% of people get an award. So it's a big deal to get anything, even from one of the builders' picks or something. But to get in there and get Truck of the Year for that was for, I'm going to say it again, the giveaway truck was pretty incredible.
Yeah, the giveaway with it had 10,000 miles on it, and he loaded up and he went to Barrett Jackson for the Cup, and we knew it wouldn't win that, but we were hoping for People's Choice, and he won People's Choice with it. So he,
Awesome.
and it's in the shop now. I might do C10s in the city this weekend. So he knows that it's my baby, and I'm gonna use it up, and I'll eventually work a deal to where I'm building him another truck. So he'll probably get some free labor. But every time he does something to it towards putting some new mirrors, this or that, he said, the price on this is going up. I said, well, my labor rate's going up too.
You didn't take that last year to Battle in Bama, did you?
No, we didn't. Let's see, that's in April. We didn't have it then, so we'll have it there. We'll have it there this year. Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, because you were going to build. Because you told me that one time. That one's called Jenny, and you were going to build another square body. And what was you going to call it? Jenny's dirty little sister. But what was the name?
That's Jenny 2.0. That's her dirty little sister. But and we thought about calling her Roxy. So.
But that's the one that's kind of on hold right now because, as we all know, the guys that run the shops don't have time for their own stuff hardly.
So that was. I had the chassis.
Go ahead.
No, I had the chassis and I had the truck, and both of them have been sitting there for a while. And for my birthday, I'm always thrashing for SEMA. And just so happened this year we had stuff done, and SEMA was a week later. So my birthday was open for the first time in years. And I told myself, they're asking, what do you want to do for your birthday? I said, I'm gonna drink beer and I'm gonna work on my truck. And
my birthday's Saturday. I'm not drinking beer, but I says I ain't working on nothing but my truck. I'm doing an OBS, and I might just weld some bumper holes up on it, but I'm working on my truck on my birthday. So I totally feel.
That's exactly what I did. I went and bought me some beer, and I sit up here at the shop, and I spent the weekend just working on my truck, and it hadn't been touched since. Do what?
And eating candy.
Oh, definitely. You got to have something to eat.
And when he says that he's thrashing for SEMA normally, like he's just starting to paint normally about your birthday time, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's been.
Gary's birthday is October 19th. That was a good guess, right? Mm-hmm. So that's always right before SEMA. So for all those years, we were thrashing, we were taking stuff to SEMA over 20 times and haven't taken anything for a few years. She seriously moved her birthday to it was like April.
April 19th.
Yeah, she moved it to April 19th. Presents, cake, the whole thing, because we never had time to celebrate her birthday in October with SEMA stuff.
That's perfect. There's no rule says you can't.
Right?
That's
exactly.
Right. Yeah.
And there's no rule. As an adult, did you know that? You can buy yourself or make yourself a birthday cake anytime you wish. You could make one every day of the week if you want, because you're an adult and you can make a birthday cake.
And you can eat a piece of your own birthday cake for breakfast if you want.
You want, yeah. We've been on diets, and I'm like, I'm having cake with strawberries, and I might have a lemonade. I haven't had a lemonade in 3 months.
And you wanted ice cream.
Yeah, so I'll feel like crap the next day after eating junk food. So, yeah. So, have you ever taken a car to compete for the Riddler before?
I haven't. I am in the mix of doing that. I went probably last.
I didn't mean to throw that. That's kind of a secret thing, but I didn't remember. That was a legit question that popped in my head. That
Yeah,
I mean, we've showed up there with a car that we didn't debut and got best custom and stuff like that. But
a lot of people know about it just for the fact that we've been on it for so many years. I've went to Detroit for the last probably easily 10 years and studied everything. Go to the meetings they have, follow the judges out when they do each car at a certain time and watch what they pick, try to see what they write down on their clipboards. I mean, I've studied every angle of it.
Creeper.
Just to kind of get
He's a creeper.
I'm a creeper. I've took all the guys from the shop before, and if they're judging a car, I was like, everybody grab a corner and watch. And let's compare notes and see, and that's just part of, I guess, figuring it out to kind of be ahead of the game on that little bit of part of it.
Yeah.
No desire.
Are we going to say what year that car is going to be done? We don't have to say who it's for, what it is, or nothing. I know secret's safe with me. Do we know a couple years more, maybe?
I'd say probably sooner than a couple of years, but every year we've said this year, it's been the next year and then the next year. So when everybody asks me, I'm like, yeah, it was last year.
When it gets there, it gets there.
Yeah.
It kind of is. And there's so much more involved on building those. It gets to a point to where I was even talking to the guys today about it, and we're trying to hang stuff a certain way, and we're just overthinking it. It's just like one of our other cars. Other things are a little different, but you get to the point where you overthink stuff way too much and got to step back and just take a breather and okay, it's another car. Let's go with it, So.
Yep.
Yeah. And then that the truck was the only time you took a car for the Amber Award too, right?
That is it. Yep.
Yeah.
So I've been out there a couple times. Do I?
I know it's most people aren't even thinking about SEMA because it's April and SEMA's in November and they don't start thinking about that till August. But are you taking anything to SEMA this year?
This year, I really were ever so many years we get in this stage to where we're building and nothing's getting done, So that year you're building more of everything. But we've got a 66 Chevrolet truck that should be done before SEMA, and that's what we plan on taking out there this year. I think the last couple of years we've been able to, I guess, be more adult about it or something, but plan stuff better to where it hasn't hit us as hard. Last year we took the Monte Carlo for good guys, and that was it was easy. We've had those spells a couple times to where you only took a couple cars and they were already done and you already cleaned up and didn't have to just drive them in there and park them. And so we're hoping this year turns out the same way.
This year we didn't take anything. It was great.
Well, we've been lucky because we've taken cars 25. I mean, we built a dozen new cars for OEMs, but we always had to eat the travel on them when they were our cars or something. like you say, it used to be really easy to get sponsors. So that's where we choose to build a car for ourselves, because then you get a lot of stuff and a lot of company support help with our partnerships. Um, the last 3 times I've taken a car, the booth company actually shipped the car.
Yeah.
And that's like golden, because I'm tired of doing that. She won't drive because she has to go for work too. So she goes, if they'll pay my flight, I ain't driving with you. She doesn't love me that much. She's totally said that. So I don't love you enough to drive across country anymore.
It's not what I said. That's not
But
what I
I
said.
don't think we've ever asked this. So when you have a customer car and it's your idea to take the car to SEMA, does the customer pay the shipping?
I pay
the travel,
for it.
the gas?
Yep. So I'll do all of it because usually I look at it as it promotes our business. Sometimes the guys don't even, the customer doesn't even come out there.
Yeah.
But I'll pay for all of it. We usually do Scottsdale Good Guys right after that. So it's,
That's a big
all the
expense that people don't understand. Going to SEMA, the hotel rooms, all that. Like, she has to be there for work, so her company pays for her flight and the hotel. So I finally got a bonus for putting up with her for all these years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially, the California people, they're like, oh man, I can leave in the morning and get there by setup. But to drive clear across country, I mean, it's probably a $2,000 bill of just candy to get you there.
Oh,
and
definitely.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a big expense. And like right now, I can't think of the next car that I have even in my lineup. There might be one that might go to SEMA, because most of my customers right now, they don't care about SEMA. They really don't. The one
A lot has changed with SEMA,
Yeah. I mean, I still love going, whether I take a car or not. I actually have better business years when I don't have to babysit a car, because I can go have my meetings. I can do this. I do some hosting gigs, and it's good because me, it's a business thing. It's not. It's always a partnership to support your partners and your companies that work with you. I'm not a big, hey man, you got to go try to win this whatever Battle of the Builders thing or whatever. So I don't know. I'm getting old. I have a different mentality about it, I guess.
I'm the same with you. We'll sign up for all of it because it's free advertisement. If they plug it here or there, or if your pictures, logos here or there, but it has gotten to the point where if we get cars there, yes, we promote them, but we do a lot towards the business side, towards seeing our vendors. We do a lot with BASF towards judging the best paint stuff, and then doing some of the bringing the younger kids around and showing them. But it's a big marketing part for us on having a car there, but also seeing all the people that we deal with, because half the time they're just over the phone,
Yeah. That's what.
So I'm very appreciative that you guys aren't thrashing on a car this year for SEMA, because you have offered to host our final stop for our FM3 road trip this year. So I'm very thankful for that.
I would put all y'all to work.
I know, right? And we would do it. But yeah, no. So I'm super excited.
So he's done that. What year was that he did that? I was driving the panel truck, and
it was the year we went to Poteet's.
I had a Panhard bar bracket that was cracking. I was like, oh, I'm going to get to Jonathan's.
Yeah. Was that COVID year? 2020?
I don't know. Was it?
I don't know.
Yeah, we did Poteet's that year, and anyway, it was starting to rub going around the corners. I was like, oh, it's cut. It's breaking. And I made it about 12 miles from your shop and had to get a rollback. And I was like, hey, I'm coming in early. And he's like, okay. And he wouldn't let me touch it.
No.
I don't know. It was a liability thing, but this one fabricator, he made a bitchin' bracket for me. But before it was done, I don't know if he took the die grinder on that bracket, which Noel owns that panel truck now, and he thinks it's funny. There's a cock and balls engraved on that bracket. There's a little penis and little nuts on that bracket.
Male genitalia, Tim.
What did I say?
Yeah.
You're not going to say it, are you?
Nope. My mom might listen to this.
No, she don't. But yeah, there's a penis. There's a male genitalia on my Panhard bracket. Thanks to Goolsby.
You were tagged, and just think you're riding on that all the time.
And
it's not the first time.
And if you know Noel Irvin's sense of humor, he's totally okay with that. So
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, we are all looking very forward to coming back this year. So we are very thankful, and I'm sure we're going to entertain you to the fullest with our final final
Yeah,
kickoff.
that's
Yeah,
what
it was pretty
I
entertaining.
look
That was
forward
just
to
the middle of the week.
Yes.
When it goes crazy from the ending auction, it's a little nuts. So it's very
Yep.
very
it.
enjoyable.
Yeah.
I hope to have my OBS truck done by then.
Yep.
Watching all of them, like I'm glad it's the final one because I've watched all of them throughout the years and see what all goes on, and being
Yeah.
on the final stop, that's going to be a plus.
It is. It's
Yeah.
going to be awesome. And it's our 10-year anniversary, so we've got some really cool stuff.
And the first day we start at Barber Museum.
Mm-hmm.
That's Carrie's birthday.
My 50th.
Big 5-0 for Carrie.
And I think what day are y'all going to be here? The 20.
We're on there the 24th, so your birthday's the 26th. Is that right?
Yep. So I expect gifts from everybody.
Exactly.
Okay.
You hear that, all the FM3 road trippers? We're going to bring Jonathan.
As you can tell, before we start recording, that's a gift behind there. He's got the rooster back there.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Is there any certain kinds of candy we need to bring you? We'll supply you with your supply of candy for SEMA.
The nerds clusters are high on the list right now.
Do you like Skittles?
Skittles are good. Yep.
So we played a game last year with Skittles. I don't know how Jimmy did it, but we had them. We had to separate the colors and put them into cups. And then Jimmy decided to, because there's a lot of adult beverages consumed throughout this week. Jimmy thought it was a good idea to take a shot of the Skittles cup. I don't know how I swallowed them, but it was kind of impressive. I thought it
Yeah,
what's going on at these parties?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. We have a lot of adult fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely a good time.
Yep.
So,
What did we miss?
I don't know. We had to have missed something. I mean, there's probably 20 more cars that he built that was in magazines and award winners. And
I'd say that our biggest, the van was a big hit for us, and some of the giveaway stuff, and let's see.
When did you start working with Good Guys on the next generation stuff?
I
And
think
what was
that
the
was
inspiration for that?
they did back then. They did young guys, because of the good guys.
I used to park in the young guys. It was 25 and under then.
Annie has the gay, ugly yellow polo shirt still.
I have a young guy's polo shirt. But more than once, when I was in that age group, I would park in that section. That's how I really got to know Eric Peratt, because he was same age as me. We would park in the young guys section together.
They had reached out. I think it was 2016, maybe, and we had started doing more and more of the shows, and they had talked about how this program was available for sponsorship and how it worked and all this. And back then, all we did was you go out there and you just pick one. And so many years went by, we wanted to try to ramp it up and make it more special. So we started doing making them battle at the shows. So social media was huge. So every show we'd pick two of them and put them in front of the semi and put them across social media and let social media pick one of them, and that would be a winner. Well, we started seeing people cheating, and they would put the cards in their kids' name. No, so then we realized for social media, I got to vote, Good Guys got to vote, and social media got to vote. That way, we could wash it if we needed to, because somebody cheated or vice versa. So then it got to the point where we do, checking IDs, checking handwriting on their windshield card and their other card. I mean, it's checking their social media, all this to make sure, see if they're working on the car, stuff like that. Then we got to the point where, hey, we need to up the years because, 25 was hard, so we bumped it to 30. And we need to revamp the name because social media is huge. And if you hashtag young guys, it wasn't that great of a picture. So that's what
I never thought of that. What could come up? Yeah.
So we went to next generation, and then we got to the point to where we wanted to have a finalists at every show and bring them to SEMA. And one year we made that work, but SEMA's so much going on, so crazy that we backed it out and we started going to bring them to Scottsdale for the end of the year finale and make it to where those guys can sit on the top of the field with the rest of the year guys, give them a toolbox with like the rest of the year people. And
I think that's so awesome.
They're there, them young people can see, once we figured out, we treat them just like a of the year. You had your finalist, you pick the one winner, you bring them out there, and let them bump elbows with all the builders, other car people. And we figured that was a lot better than taking them to SEMA. And believe it or not, we've met some great younger people that's got shops now, or their parents had shops and stuff like that. But great avenue of meeting younger people and hearing the stories they've done and stuff like that. Like Texas this last weekend, one of the finalists, he's been in it probably the last 3 years trying to be a finalist, and every year I've watched progression on his car. And as soon as I walk up to look at it, he's telling me how he did his fuel injection and how he did this, and he was trying to get his electric fans put on before the show, but he couldn't. And the year before that, you seen him two-tone the car. So he was picked as one of the finalists to go up against everybody else for the Scottsdale win. But it was the car ain't perfect, but it's the passion he had behind it. Every time he's making money, he's putting towards that car. And so that was a big part. And so
you remember those days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, completely. And that's where I like hearing the story, about it.
Yeah. We're starting a 30 and under podcast. We're starting to put some in the can, and we just can't figure out the name. I think it needs to be the Good Guys and Goolsby Next Generation.
Yeah, Jonathan and Good Guys get involved. And
but
all work together.
I do the interview stuff for the Street Rod Nationals for the NSRA for their 29 and below. That's what they call it because Vinny Jarrett sponsors it. And I walk through an interview, and the same people, they'll come up. Some of these kids are really personable, like, "Hey, Tim, come up and look." And that's what this is. Like, a couple of guys, they drag race too. And it's like, well, now I've got an actual fast motor. And each year they have something else they've done to it, the regulars that come back. And I really, that's my funnest gathering at that Street Rod Nationals is, we get half a parking lot full of the young people. So we were all there. Like I said, I used to park in the young guys, and, not everybody was friendly to us, and we wanted to do this, but I remember the people that were, so I always try to remember that to help the next generation, because we're getting old, and we need other hot rodders to continue this.
Yep.
I've even got there was one, there's a couple of them that really stick out for me, but one guy out of Columbus, it's before we did the battle, and we're standing back and listening to him tell about his 69 Camaro, and it's a small block, supercharged, and he ends up, you can hear him telling everybody about the car. And I go up to him and I tell him, hey, we want to pick you for the, young guys winner back then. He's like, great, man, that's the reason I came out here, this and that. He said, I need to call my parents and make sure that I can be here for Sunday because we're going on family vacation. I'm like, cool. So he comes back to the booth and he said, hey, I could stay. I appreciate you picking me and all this. And I asked him, I said, hey, why do you have one name on your windshield card and one last name on your windshield sticker? He said, well, my parents are well known around here for dealerships. He says, and I usually use this name because I don't want people to think that I got a silver spoon and that they just give me everything. And and how he got into cars was he was big into sports and broke his back. And he couldn't play sports anymore. So, he got into the cars even more with his dad and stuff like that. And to this day, we stay in contact. I just finished building an Apache truck for him. He owns his own dealership.
Awesome.
He's married, really good kid. And he still plays with cars. He's got a bunch of high-end nice cars, but, he still, likes hot rods. He's got a little 32. All that stuff. But, it's neat watching. You feel like a dad figure in a way watching them grow up,
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, there's this one kid. We haven't recorded him yet, but he's in that age group. And he's like, he's building a new truck, and he's like, I just want Jonathan to give me that nod at one of these events. Like, he's trying hard just to please you. And I was like, well, he'll build the truck that you want. He's building it for a customer. He's kind of starting his shop part-time. And I go,
is he out of Kansas?
Don't build a car just for the judges. You and your customers still have to be happy if you don't win it. You know, oh, Jonathan likes whatever. Oh, he likes forge lines. But if you want Krager's on that damn thing, put Krager's on it, because you got to be happy with it if you don't win anything. I mean, even if you do win, you still don't want. I know people that's won big awards and they're like, it's not really the car. I'll sell it. Then they'll build a driver because they built the judge's car. So that's
the great part about all of the hot rodders. Everybody has their own style, and that's where you want to help him, but he'll figure out his own style. But there's a bunch of young kids out there.
That's what George would do. So George to me was an art collector. If you let you build a car, give you a '69 Camaro, give Johnson's a '69 Camaro, give Pinky's one, give Dutch boys, it's all, if they get free reign, they're all going to be bitching, and they're all going to be slightly different.
Exactly. Yeah.
I knew a custom guy who passed away. He ran his business that way. You bring me a car, you want me to build a car because you like my work. So I'm the artist. So I build whether, he built Mercs and traditional trucks, but he was a lead sled guy. And one guy goes, okay, here's this was probably 25 years ago. This car won a bunch of awards and stuff in the custom world. And he's like, I don't care what you do to it. Just please, I hate green. Don't paint it green. Guess what? That son of a bitch was green. He says, I just couldn't get green out of my head when I was building it. The guy paid his bills, and it was kind of funny, and the guy kept it for a long time. I mean, it was a bitchin' car. And, the builder even gets to pick the color. I was like, oh, I'm kind of jealous of that.
That Blue Bayou Mustang that we just finished, he was he come in and never had a car built. He had seen Spencer's gray car, the charcoal one. He said, I want that car. I want one just like that. I was like, well, let's build you a car. And you had to, kind of feel him out. And I was like, you want horsepower? He's like, oh, we got to have horsepower. I was like, well, we need to do a supercharged Coyote because that had a stock Coyote. He's like, okay. And then I told him, I said, let's do a chassis versus, bolt-on suspension. He's like, okay. And he said, he's like, I really want it red, and I was like, no, it's not going red. So I surprised him and said, here's your red car. And it was blue. So, but
so he didn't go with blue, so it was painted blue.
He knew, I got him a rendering done of it, but we debuted it at SEMA and he didn't get to see it. He didn't get to see it until we pulled the cover off. He didn't get to see the interior. He didn't get to see it was in epoxy primer before it even went to the body shop. We fit him in the car with a seat, and that was the last time he had seen it until we pulled the cover off.
Yeah, that's nerve-wracking enough, pulling the cover off at SEMA in front of everybody. But for the customer, I was there for that. And for the customer, it's very nerve-wracking, right? Thinking, oh, they're going to hate this or whatever.
I tried to do that on a lot of them. The van was that way. That customer never seen it, and the Duster, she never seen it, and that was probably the most nerve-wracking one because of how special that car is for her. And we changed the interior on that a month before SEMA, and I told her.
I forgot about that. Let's talk about that Duster. I pay attention. I pay attention, and I think I'm smarter than most people think I am. Does that make sense?
Where are you going? Keep going.
Like how the awards are. And that's, like, to me, for the longest time, Street Machine of the Year, good guys, I've said this many times on the podcast, kind of had a formula.
Yeah.
It's going to have your Forge Line looking wheels, which is good. We're friends with the Forge Line people. It's going to have your crate motor of something, a supercharger or a turbo, and it's kind of like that. Well, to me, I love that Duster. It's got big and littles. It's got big wheels, machine that look like a Halabrand. And it was in your booth, and I'm like, oh, man, don't forget, because I'm the autocross announcer, by whatever time, you got to come to the autocross and run your laps. And they're like, that's not what they're looking for. He says, you didn't even take it out of the booth all weekend because it's not, it wasn't that car because you had to autocross. Now, first time last year, Street Machine of the Years, half people in favor, half people are not. that they don't have to run on the autocross anymore. They have to drive around the loop to show their cooling and drivability, which I think that, because now if that car was fresh, you would enter that probably in Street Machine of the Year, because it wasn't an autocross styled car. And that kind of, to me, that's why I kept telling good guys, that pigeonholes what you're looking for. I mean, I understand sponsor money. You got all those sponsors that are doing the Pro Tour type stuff, but it would open, I still love Pro Street cars, and I still think there's some badass Pro Street cars, and they're not going to come and tiptoe around the autocross and make them look bad, but now they can.
That car was a one of them, and to me, it was just like the van. It didn't fit no category perfect, when it was built. And I took that Duster around the autocross in Des Moines just to.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah.
A couple laps and, just to see if it would fall in any of these categories, but that was the only time I did anything with it other than just keeping it in the booth. And I think they had America's Most Beautiful, and now it's changed to America's Most Bitchin'. It could have fell under that category, but I think that's a category for like the Duster or the van. It grabs the ones that don't have a certain category, But yeah, it was a fun car, a lot of history behind it too.
Yeah, I like that car a lot. So, yeah.
So as we start to wrap up here, because we've been talking for 2 hours and it's way past my bedtime, what is your favorite show, and what is one show that you've never been to that you would like to go to?
Anywhere around the world.
Ooh. Favorite, I always go what first pops in my head, and I'd say Des Moines. Good guys. I like that one because the facility, the cruising, good people there. It's big show, and it's enough room to where you're not jam packed.
And it's cool that everybody hangs out at night. They cruise. The food vendors stay open. They do fireworks and a band, and
everybody's in a good mood.
Yeah,
it's a good atmosphere. I don't know on the ones never been to. That's a good question. I'd have to think about that. I'd say there's The Rock is probably one of them. That's probably on top of the list. Some of the truck shows. I haven't been to a couple of those that I'd really like to go to. Probably right now, I'd probably say The Rock. Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, that was one of ours. What's your final questions?
So how long a notice do you need before we would do another Hot Rod Industry BMX race? I haven't been on my bike for a year since she crashed, so it's not like I'm training either. So
I'm ready. Let's do it.
So the last time we did that was the first time back on the track in years. And the only time I'd ride a bike other than that was around the shop.
Like Scott Sandoval raced when he was younger from Billet Specialties. He raced and fell back in love with it. Then his son was young then, so they started racing nationals and state series, and got back into it. Now he's he was still riding mountain bikes and road bikes, so it wasn't like he was sitting on the couch. But that first year, I remember Rick from Vinnie Jer came out and watched, and McLeod was along the fence, and Art Morrison was there, all laughing at us. But it was Brandon. I forget Brandon's last name. He raced BMX as a kid and raced mountain bikes some, and still rode mountain bikes for fun. And he was racing, loaner bikes. And the ego of racer comes back thinking we're having fun. It's like, oh, I'm going to try to pass this guy down the last straight rhythm. And he crashes and hits his shoulder and end up having to have a little bit of surgery on the shoulder eventually because he had wrecked mountain bikes before and he had screws in his shoulder and he just happened to fall and catch a screw.
Oh, wow.
And rip it. Like, he didn't have to immediately go to the hospital, but within a month or so, he had to go and get it looked at, and something had to be worked on. So Vinnie Jared said none of the employees could race that race after that. We did that, 5 years, even got it. The Street Rodder was there the first year and took a picture, had a little half-page article on it. It was a good time. DW Horton, he would always crash, and I go, dude, what happened? He goes, I just decided to sit down quickly. That was his. He never crashed. It was like, I'm sitting down quickly. I needed a break mid-track.
The tracks have gotten so much crazier now. Like
That's kind of why we don't do it there, because now it's the two starting hills, and it's a little lippy, and so we always think if we ever do it, we'd probably do it during a Nashville weekend, because I mean it's still an amazing track.
It's so much safer.
Yeah, but it's the longest straightaway in first straight in BMX still, and but yeah, as we get older, not everybody else is going to come out and do this, so we still do it because we're idiots. But
we'll have to show the young bucks how it's done.
There you go.
Yeah,
we got many years left on the bike.
Yeah. So anything you want to add at the end here? Thank anybody? Thank your wife? Oh, so
Thank the wife.
Usually Jonathan is a cat person too. We have cats around, but the one had to go to get his diabetic stuff checked today, half the day. So he is not.
He's exhausted.
And the other one was a little stressed out, surprisingly, because he usually doesn't give a crap about anything. So he's tired too. So he's.
So both of mine have to go for checkups this week, and we've got one that's about 11 years old, Shelby, and she's put it this way, a mama's baby, and like she'll beat the shit out of me unless she wants something. And then we have Steven, which is random cat. We had a camper in the backyard. I pull up at the house, and I start hearing this kitten, and I look over there, and there's this kitten that's fresh sitting on the ground, and I realized the mama had gotten in the bottom of the camper and had kittens. So I pick the cat up and I toss it back inside the camper. Come back out the next morning, it's back on the ground. Then I toss it back up in there, and I told Vonda, I was like, you need to put a basket out here and towel or something to catch it in case he falls out again. He's back in the basket now. So now it turned into we're raising this cat, and he's Steven's 3 years old now, 17 pounds, and he is a hellion through the house. Like he's chases you. He's like my little buddy that will wrestle. Clumsy. I mean, he might as well be a big old clumsy dog is what he is. But he's the young kid running around the house.
Yeah, we got a 1.5-year-old and a 9-year-old here. So, and we have a new one out back. His name is Mercury because he's been sleeping in my Mercury in the barn. And we definitely don't need another inside cat. Well, I started feeding him, and now we have to put a picture of this thing online.
Yeah.
We put an automatic feeder for when we're gone out there. But every night the raccoons would get in it and throw all the food and everything. So I built this. She got me a chunk of steel from something was someplace.
Broken stand at work.
Yeah, and brings it, and now it's about 15 pounds of metal, 1/4-inch plate on the bottom. You just use your scrap, 1-inch square tube, half-inch bolts with wing nuts and a bracket that holds the top. And then I welded tabs front and back and on the sides, and then holding the bowl down so the raccoons can't get the bowl out. They can't slide it. And it's lasted almost 3 weeks, and they have not got into it yet. And almost every day there's muddy little paw prints all over it. The raccoons trying to get into it. They'll eat if there's stuff in the dish, but they can't get into the hopper. So that's one of my proudest fabrication things I think I've ever done. I might find a new line of business. I'm making raccoon-proof feeder holders. Yeah.
They're going to team up, and they'll figure out how to get you beat. They will.
The top has wing nuts on it, so you can get it off. Yeah. So they're eventually going to get them wing nuts loose because I don't over tighten them. They'll get them wing nuts. They'll put nuts when tighten it. But do you know? We've talked about this on our podcast that there's an Instagram page called Cat Rotters.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Ashley Webb runs it.
I'll have to look that up.
Ashley Talbert runs it. And it's a lot. Our cats have been on there, so they're hard to live with, so they think they're famous because they're playing with Hot Wheels. They don't go to the shops, but it's mostly this upholstery shop has a cat, or this guy has a cat, and they're cat people too. So, it's Cat Rotters.
Steven was that way since he was so small. We had to bring him to the shop and have everything set up here. So Vonda would bring him every day back and forth. It was like a little dog, and he would just stay in the showroom and run around until he got old enough to stay at home by himself.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So you guys never had kids, right?
No kids. No.
Just
Cats.
cats. So you throw your cats
Yep.
like we do. We get it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay. So we want to thank Jonathan Goolsby for being this week's guest on the Strange Motion Away podcast. I've been your host, Tim Strange, along with
Carrie Strange.
and we'll see you at the next one.
Thanks, guys.
See that?
The Strange Motion Away podcast, brought to you by
Royal Purple. Premium synthetic motor oils and high-performance chemicals have been designed to improve performance, provide long-term protection, and give you the confidence to push your vehicle to the limit. Royal Purple Premium Synthetic Motor Oils.